Welcome to Sweet Mountain Crafts Fibercast number 22. My name is Carista Lowe. Today we're going to be talking about some knitting, crochet, some fun projects that I've been working on, and lots of things that I have in the works in the dye studio. So come on in and let's get started. Hi Fiber friends, today is May 29th. Tomorrow's my birthday, woohoo! I'm excited to celebrate 44 years here tomorrow. So I have some fun news related to that a little bit later when I talk about my shop update. But let's go ahead and start talking about some of the things that I've been working on and some things that have been going on in life. First of all, what am I wearing? I have on the Eleonora sweater. This is a sweater knit in Queensland, PERTH, and Queensland Collections Perth. It is not one that I knit myself. This was actually a shop sample that was sent in and has been on display at my store. It was sent from the distributor, but it's a beautiful sweater. It fits me great. It's just a nice tee. It is definitely warmer, but it's great for those days when it's just a little bit of chill in the air, or if I've washed my hair and it's kind of damp and I'm just a little bit chilled from that. It's a great sweater to throw on for a little bit extra warmth. Since I didn't knit this, I don't have details on, I'm not positive of the colorway that was used with this sweater. I will kind of sit up and show it does a really neat slip stitch texture, or has a really neat slip stitch texture on it. And it's just a beautiful sweater. So it's one that I would definitely consider knitting myself, but this one is not one I made myself. I also have to comment that I am wearing my NESS Boutique upcycled knitting needle earrings here. I love these earrings. They go with so much. I have two pairs and they're just fun and classy looking earrings, but here I'm going to show this one up a little bit closer. It is, let's see if we can get it to stop swinging there. It's a knitting needle, or three knitting needles rather, because there's three different colors and three different sizes there. But knitting needles that have been cross-cut and then turned into jewelry. Isn't that so fun? I believe I've shown the NESS jewelry on here before. I do carry these at my local yarn store. Let me tell you a little bit more about myself for those that might be new to the podcast. I own a brick and mortar yarn store in Cody, Wyoming called Wyoming Yarn and Fiber, and that is a new venture to me. I'm still at just under a year of having owned that business. So I opened last summer in July, and that has been a lot of fun, but definitely takes my time and attention in new directions. So I find myself very busy with that and trying to figure out how to balance regular life and dyeing with Sweet Mountain Crafts, because that is my indie yarn dyeing company that I do here online and then also sell in other stores. And then just, yeah. I live on a hobby farm. We have animals. We have ongoing activities on our small acreage here. And then we also have 4 kids. So between my husband and I, we stay pretty busy trying to keep up with all the activities. Of my 4 children, 2 are graduated and have moved on. Part of what has been going on in life is that my oldest just graduated with his undergrad at Montana State University. Go Bobcats! And I am also a Bobcat, so that's fun that he's graduating from my alma mater. But he just graduated with his undergrad in business and will be going on to pursue a master's degree at that same school. So we're super excited for him. We got to celebrate him here this month, and yeah, it's fun to see him get to that point. Especially, I am a homeschooling mom, so it is super exciting to feel like all the efforts and the endeavors that we put in are starting to show through his continued pursuits and the ways that he's applying himself. So that's super exciting. Our second oldest is in Phoenix, Arizona, and is working as an auto mechanic at a Volkswagen dealership and is doing fabulously down there. It's really exciting to see him also push himself and continue to do well. He will be going on to further education through Volkswagen, which is super exciting, and continuing to expand his own skill set in an area of study that he loves. So he is full on working and just staying busy, although I miss him desperately. Phoenix is a long way from Cody, so it will be good. He's going to get a chance to come home in June, so I'm excited to see him before too much longer. My next two, I have two more kids that are still in high school, although they do online schooling by high school through a private school out in Pennsylvania. So they attend Veritas Scholars Academy online. And my third oldest just finished up his junior year and is going to be a senior. Woohoo! My fourth oldest, my youngest, just finished her sophomore year and is going on to her junior year. So we're excited to have seen the school year just get wrapped up. They have a very rigorous school schedule that they have to keep, and so getting through finals is just a breath of fresh air for all of us. It always is a lot of work for them, and then for me as mom, trying to encourage and challenge and just be there for them. It's just exciting to see them successfully get through a school year. So along with my oldest graduation this month, we've also been traveling for lacrosse for my third oldest. He's had games all over the state of Montana and some in Wyoming. So we've been doing a lot of travel for lacrosse. It's been busy but fun. At the same time, we also got chicks, Rhode Island Reds, and Sapphire Gems. The Rhode Island Reds I've had before, so I'm familiar with them, but the Sapphire Gems are new to me, and they are a beautiful gray color. So I'm excited about both these birds and just expanding the flock. And it's always fun to have chicks around, isn't it? They're so cute when they're little and new, and then they're just fun. I love having all the little noises, and I love baby animals, as do most, I suppose.
The tail wags.
We've been getting out into the garden. Finally, it is warm enough. We're past our major frosts. There are still occasionally some cold days ahead of us yet. I know that that's true just because of where we're at. Even though it's the end of May, we will have some cold spells here or there, but not enough to kill anything that we've planted. So I got pumpkins and zucchini in the ground. We have raspberries and grapes that are already growing and doing great. And then we have, I put potatoes in. We've started to harvest rhubarb, and let's see, I think that's all of our outdoor crops. Our greenhouse is going gangbusters. It's doing great right now. Here's the greenhouse so far. There's some basil not doing well. Onions in the middle. Those look really good though. And then over here we've got peppers. Peppers here, here, peppers. Tomatoes, tomatillos, tomatoes. Look how good they are already. And then over here, we've got some lettuces. These are some wild lettuces that they won't stay long. There's some onions in there too, but yeah. And then I gotta show you, look, I already have flowers on the tomatillos. So fun. And then in the back, there's some cucumbers, which are just getting started, so they're not very far along. And then over here, see the fishies. They want me to feed them. All right, that's the greenhouse so far. Fun stuff. Let's move into woohoo, I made it. So here I will talk a little bit about some projects that I've been able to complete. And I am so excited to get some of these things done so that I could clear off some needles, clear off some space in my brain, because I've got lots of projects I want to get started on, but I was telling myself I have to get these things done first. So first of all, I had cast on, and I believe I showed this pair started on my last podcast, but this was leftovers from a sock set that I did for myself. And this is out of opal yarn in the sweet squared and spicy squared colorway. And there was just enough left over to go ahead and make a pair of shorties for my daughter. So I finished them off. I did run slightly short, so you can see that these cuffs, these are actually a contrast cuff that I put on there that matches really nicely with the socks. So it's hard to tell that it's not part of the pattern repeat, but this was an addition that I put on there. But I got these done for her, and I've set them aside for a little bit just because I wanted to podcast about them. But those will go to my daughter here soon. The next thing I finished was my settler shawl. So this is a shawl by Libby of Truly Myrtle. And it was just a very simple, very basic shawl, very fun pattern to do. I would say that this is one that I could see myself doing the shawl again, because it's just kind of a no-nonsense shawl, garter stitch up until you start doing the crossover stitches. And the crossover stitches slow it down a little bit because of the time that it takes to do those yarn overs and then drop those stitches. But they weren't bad, and they add such a pretty lattice work to the edge of the shawl. So it's a beautiful design. The yarn that I used on it was yarn from Louie and Lola out of Australia, out of Tasmania, I believe. And it was actually a fingering weight yarn and a mohair blend yarn that I held double in order to make this. So this is a super soft, super cozy shawl. It just turned out beautifully. So I finally got it blocked and got ends woven in, and it is gorgeous. My next finished object is actually not completely finished by me. This was a loose ends project, for lack of a better word. I'm not signed up for the official loose ends group, but I had a customer bring this project in to me. I did show this on a previous podcast. This is a blanket that had been started by her mother and was just sitting in a closet for years. I don't even know how long, probably a long time. And she just wanted it finished. So I took on that challenge and said that I'd be happy to finish it for her so that she would get to enjoy this, or one of her family members would get to. So I finally got this finished last night. Super excited about that. I'll go ahead and get this off to her hopefully within this next week. But here it is. It makes me think of a sunflower. So I love the colors in it just for that reason. They're obviously kind of dated colors. The yarn was quite old, but still in really good condition. And it's just a very fun knit design, actually. I really enjoyed the stitching on it. So I'm gonna hold this up here so that you can see maybe. So it was a really fun, I don't know technically what you would call that stitch, but almost like a feather and fan, but instead of it being, you know, the feather and fan, it's only one direction. Anyway, it was very fun to do. The hardest part was that, and granted, some of this was done ahead of me. So what I had to do, I had to knit one whole panel. So this darker color was a panel that was still needed in order to complete the blanket. So I knit one panel, and then a portion of it had been stitched together, but not all of it. So there were some of these other panels just in strips that were waiting to be attached. And so I had to sew them together, but I wanted to make sure to match whatever the previous makers or creators had done. And so I noticed that they were using more of a Kitchener style stitch to connect the panels in the back. So you can see there that there's, like I say, the Kitchener style, where it goes kind of like creates a knit stitch to hold those together. So that took a long time. It took me longer to do that knit stitch or that Kitchener stitch on this than I thought it would. But I think in the end, let's see, I know I did 4 of the seams. Maybe I do 5? I think I did 4.5 seams in order to get it all put together because there was one that was partially done. So I did about 4.5 of the seams, and that definitely took longer than the knitting. So anyway, super glad it's done though, and I will get that off to the customer here, like I say, hopefully this week. My last finished object is kind of a partially finished, as I like to say, only because it's yarn that I've created for myself. This is some hand spun yarn that I spun up over a number of months, actually maybe even a couple years if you consider all of the details here. But this one here is from a fiber braid that I had purchased from or that I received from Running on Yarn, an independent dyer in Casper, Wyoming. And Laura had done this beautiful braid on Blueface Leicester fiber base, on Blueface Leicester roving. And it was just a gorgeous, the natural color of the roving was already a deep gray brown. And then when she added her dye on top of it, it made just these really moody tones. So she kind of had the braid in 3 segments of color. So there was kind of a main red color, burgundy, and then kind of a golden color, and then a blue, a navy blue. So I separated those into 3 parts, and then I spun them into single plies individually, and then I created this 3-ply yarn. So here I'll show just a little bit of me plying it. When I got done with the ply, I ended up with 152 yards of this yarn. I would say that I have not properly measured it, but I would say that it's a DK to a worsted weight primarily. So I love how this turned out. Every time I look at it, I think cowl for some reason. Either that or a hat. I'm not sure just yet which way I'm gonna go with it, but it turned out beautiful and I love the look of it. So like I said, since I was plying this in a 3-ply, I ended up, if I remember correctly, I think I tried to weigh the roving to get them as even as possible. But as I say, my yarn can have some thick and thin to it, just the nature of my spinning. And so that ends up meaning that sometimes my bobbins don't end out being exactly the same. So when I'm doing a 3-ply yarn, that means that in the case of this, I was working from 3 individual bobbins, and it left me with, when I ran out of the first bobbin, it left me with 2 bobbins that still had leftover single. Well, there was enough there that I thought I'm gonna go ahead and keep spinning that, and I had the option at that point to either take the remainder and turn it into a 2-ply yarn or bring in a 3rd ply from somewhere else. So I kind of had fun just playing around. I knew I had a bunch of singles. So the same thing has happened to me in the past, that I was spinning a 2-ply yarn and one of the plies would run out before the other bobbin would run out. And so I would take the remainder from the leftover bobbin and just roll it up into a ball. And I had a bag of those just stuck aside in my stash that I went ahead and got those out. And I thought, I'm just gonna have fun playing with this, kind of make a Frankenstein skein of yarn where all these pieces and parts come together. And so I pulled out a number of balls. You can see in this picture here that I had a number of different colors. I kind of stayed with the pinks, purples, and yellows, which in the picture you don't see that so much, but on the inside of those yellow balls there are some pinks and purples, which came from a hand-dyed roving that I had dyed up previously. So I ended up putting those together with the remainders from this yarn, and you can see that here. And what I ended up with was this beautiful yarn. So this was super fun. It totally makes me think of a sunflower. Different style sunflower than the blanket, but do you guys know those sunflowers that have the really pretty reds and purples on them? I love those. And anyway, so that's what this skein makes me think of, is both the kind of red, purple sunflowers as well as just regular yellow sunflowers. So this is a Blue-Faced Leicester and a Polworth blend, and I ended up with about 73 yards of bulky weight yarn. So again, I'm not sure what to do. Actually, I don't know that I like them enough together. I think they stand apart from each other enough. I don't think I'd put them into a project together, but I'm not totally decided yet on what to do with them. So in the meantime, I will just enjoy looking at them for a little bit longer and then come up with something later on. Let's look at some works in progress. So I have a number of items that I have been working on, just getting started or am almost done with. So let's go ahead and talk about some of these. First, let's look at Frothy. Oh my goodness, I am getting tired of talking about this sweater. Not because I'm not enjoying it. I thoroughly enjoy this project. It's just that I am ready to be done and I am so close. So this is my daughter's Frothy pullover, patterned by CATRINA Frost. And I am very, very close. I had her try this on just a few days ago. This project has been interrupted and stopped and paused so many times that I think that's kind of why it is lingering so long. But I am literally within hours of finishing, like just probably a few hours total, to get it finished knitting, blocked, seam or ends woven in, all of it. I'm so close. So hopefully this week I will get this done. Maybe by the end of May. I was gonna march to the finish with this and finish it in March. Yeah, that didn't happen. Here I am in May and I'm getting close, but not quite there. Anyway, the story is my daughter put this on and she and I decided together that because of the way it fits her more like a actual tee, less of a sweatshirt, looser sweater. So we decided to turn it into more of a tee by making it a little bit shorter sleeves. And she put it on and she figured out where on her arm she would want it to stop. So I'd actually already knit past that point on the sleeves. The sleeves were about 4 inches longer than this. So I had to rip back just a little bit. And now what I have to do is do the finished binding on the sleeves. So I'll finish it much like I finished the hem, where it'll just be, what is it, a knit 2, purl 2? Yeah, knit 2, purl 2 to finish off those sleeves. Get that all done and then get it blocked and get it to her really soon, hopefully. I'd love to think that she'll have this here soon because right now it's still kind of the cooler weather outside as we're still in springtime. And I think she would get an opportunity to wear this now and then possibly again in the fall. Next, let's look at my fossette. So I decided to join the fossette along with Knitty McPurley and all of the people that are knitting fossettes this spring. I had right away decided that I wanted to do that because the fossette is a DK weight yarn or DK weight sweater pattern, and I had lots of DK weight yarn in stash. So I knew that I would, just from my stash, be able to find something that I could put together for this. So I went stash diving. I pulled out 3 yarns that looked amazing next to each other and got started. Well, if you follow me on Sweet Mountain Fiber on Instagram, you'll see that I tried a combination that the yarns are beautiful together, but it just wasn't giving the stitch definition that I wanted it to, mostly because, let me show you. So this yarn is a gorgeous colorway. It is so pretty, and I really liked, this is called the Crowaning, and I really liked this color, but when I was pairing it with the other colors that I thought would look really nice with it, there was too much variation in this colorway, and it was blending with the others so significantly that you couldn't see, like if I was doing a slip stitch, you couldn't even tell I was slipping a stitch. And so then it just feels like, well, if it doesn't really show, why am I spending the time to slip stitches? I should just knit it in stockinette stitch. So it kind of felt like it was counterintuitive to what the pattern was telling me to do. So I did put a picture of that on Instagram. I'll show that picture here. It's still beautiful. It still looks great. I still love the overall vibe of the colors in the sweater. I just wasn't liking the lack of definition. So I decided to switch up my colors, and I put a poll on Instagram and said I had 2 options. One was to go a little more moody. One was to go a little more bright. Bright won out, so I decided to go ahead and go with that. And these are the colors that I am now working with for my faucette. Let's see here if I can figure out, there we go. Yeah, that's the right way. So this is my current faucette, and it is bright. It is very fun and happy. It has kind of an Eastery feel to it. My husband said it looks a little like an Easter egg. I think it does, but I'm enjoying it. We'll see. There's some days I love these colors together, and I'm like, oh yeah, totally fun, totally gonna rock that sweater. But then other times I'm like, I don't know, are these colors I would choose to wear together in this fashion? But I'm just gonna go on forward with it. I have had the thought that if for some reason I got done with this and I found I wasn't wearing it because it's a little louder than I usually choose for myself, it would be so easy. All of the yarns in this are superwash merino yarn, some of them with a nylon base. But I could easily put this into a dye bath and just put like a soft charcoal gray over the top of it just to mellow it down a little. So I have had that thought. I'm not saying I'm going to do that for sure, but it has crossed my mind that if for some reason I find myself not choosing to wear this, that I do have that option. So let's talk about the colors. First of all, let's talk about the pattern. The pattern is by Knitting with Pearly. Devin Ventry did a fabulous job of writing up this really fun pattern that it shifts and changes. Each section of the sweater is new and different and exciting, and so that's very fun in the yoke. And then I am just now started onto the stockinette section of the sweater, which is this darker purple that I'm doing down here. And it is, it's just gonna fly off the needles, I think, at this point, because stockinette is something that if I'm really busy and have a long work day, when I come home in the evenings, stockinette is what I'm looking for. So stockinette in the round is by far one of the easiest projects to pick up after a long day at work. So I think this will go fairly quick from here on out. You can see I have these stitch holders. These are actually, they're like the barber cords, but they are by, oh, here, let's see. They call them pearl strings, and they're by Mini and Pearl. So I have the Sweater Plus pack that I purchased from them at some point to try out. So you can see there. And they are fun to have. I have not used them a whole lot, so I did use them to try this on, and they're currently holding my sleeve stitches. But yeah, this is probably the first time I've used them this much. Anyway, very fun process. Oh, what am I using? First of all, I did not change needle size. I have not changed anything in the pattern except the yarn amounts. In other words, what I mean is the pattern calls for 3 colors. I'm working with a 4th color, but otherwise I am using the recommended needle size, which is a size 5. Is that? It is the size recommended, right? I don't think I changed that. Let's see. Yep, size 5. And yeah, so I haven't changed anything in the pattern. Oh, I did change something in the pattern, excuse me. I didn't put the baubles on. I'm not a big bauble fan. They're not the most exciting thing for me. And maybe in a sweater, I think I'd be more prone to putting baubles. Like I have baubles on my shawlography shawl that I really like them on that shawl. And like on a hat or gloves, baubles don't bother me. But on a sweater, I don't love baubles. So I didn't include the baubles. But other than that, like I say, everything else is the same. So let's look at the colors. First of all, that deep purple is actually one of the colors that was also, let's see, I'm trying to find the card, was also in my original. So this deep purple stayed the same. This is called Love Language, and it came out of the Yarnable subscription kit for February of this year. So that was dyed by Hypnotic Yarn, and it's a beautiful tonal purple. Do you see the semi-tonal? So I'm really excited as I get further in the stockinette that will show that off really nicely. Then my next color is this white, which I changed from the original. Originally I had used Somebody Loves Me from the Yarnable set, or Yarnable subscription, but I decided to go with something that was even more dramatic and had no colors. It's got some speckles, but that's all. So this is Mrs. White by Chicken Lady Fiber Arts. So there's her label. And this is the yarn. It was just a very lightly speckled with black. Basically a natural colored skein with just some black speckling on there. So I like that. Again, I wanted it to show the stitches, and you can see it definitely shows those stitches. So then the next color is this turquoise or teal, and this is some of my own hand dyed. This is leftovers from, I did the Comfort Fade Cardi by Andrea Mowry, and this was some leftovers from that. So the colors that I had dyed, I'm not going to remember the specific name for this color, but it was from a series of daily blessings that I had done. And like I say, I don't remember what I had called this one in particular, but you can see it is that teal, kind of a semi-tonal teal with some brown actually throughout the yarn. So again, that is a very bright color. Surprisingly, that when I think teal, I don't necessarily think bright, but with this purple and that teal, they are very bright. So I decided to settle it down just a little bit and went for this more pastel purple. And this just happened to be, this was also, I should say, included. This one, the 2 purples were on my first try of the faux set. But this is just some hand-dyed purple. Doesn't have a name necessarily because it was some leftovers that I had dyed from one of my dye jobs. And anyway, it's just a pretty soft lavender. So surprisingly, next to that other purple, it can kind of go almost pink. Like I noticed that when I'm taking pictures of it, or it goes kind of to a mauve, that light purple does. But I like that it brings in a subtler effect. I think if it was just the really bright purple, the teal and the white, it would be even more jarring. So it just gives it a little bit of softness. So that's my faux set. This is all being held in another bag by Delightful Works. Susan did this fun bucket bag, and it's been perfect for this project. You can see it fits in here perfectly with all my yarns down in there. And since Lots of times I'm working 2 or 3 colors pretty close to each other. They're just really easy access in this bucket bag because they don't get hung up on each other. They're really easy to get to. All right, as you may know by this point, most of the time I also have socks on the needles, and indeed I have more socks on the needles because this is what I was saying about education. I love teaching and I am having so much fun. I'm teaching a 2 at a time toe-up sock class at my yarn shop right now, and I have 10 participants at the moment. I think I may have lost one last week. She was kind of struggling with some of the details. So hopefully I'll pick her back up maybe on some private lessons and get her where she feels comfortable with the instruction. But it has been so much fun. So I do a a German short row toe and a German short row heel on my socks. That's what I always do. So whenever you see me with just my vanilla go-to sock, I have the German short row toe, German short row heel. And another thing I always do is 2 at a time because I'm so bad about not finishing socks. I've talked about all that before here, but now I'm teaching it. So it is such a different thing to do something over and over and over with lots of repetition and then try to teach it to somebody. It makes you think of it in a whole new way. And that's definitely where I'm at with this project. So the project of teaching this class, I should say. But I am having a lot of fun making sure that I communicate as clearly as possible what it is that I do for my socks. And then also telling people, look, everyone does socks in their own way. This is one way. Please go out and find the way that works best for you. This is one of the sock pairs that I have started. I'm in the middle of the toe on one of the feet. So the way I do my toes is I do one complete toe for one foot, and then I do the toe for the other foot, and then I start my simultaneous knitting around. So these are being knit with online super sock in color. I just had the ball band and I don't know where it went, so I apologize. I don't remember the color number. So yeah, anyway, very fun color. And that's one of the sock sets that I'm doing. But because the class can be at various stages, and I want to make sure to have socks also in various stages so that I can communicate well to the students wherever they're at. These are Knitting Fever, the KFI collection painted sock. And this is one that will do a gradual change or fade. And on this one, I have both toes complete, and I'm now starting to knit in the round. So you can see there, I have my little llama progress keeper on that sock. And let me show you the yarn balls. So these Knitting Fever, this yarn in particular sells, oh, I see why I'm so tangled, because it's got some scrap yarn that's wrapped around it. It shouldn't be. There we go. That might help. These are sold in 2 50-gram balls that are already ready to go so that you have a matched pair of socks. And these are in the Aruba Blues, color 101. So you can see the pretty colors of that yarn. So those are my 2 socks at the moment, my 2 pairs. And I am so excited. I have not participated in summer sock camp for a couple reasons. Summer sock camp, let's see, I don't remember how many years Kay of Crazy Sock Lady has been doing summer sock camp, but it just hasn't been convenient for me to participate in years past. And last year I really considered joining, but then she added in a lot more of layers to the summer sock camp merchandise and different rules and different cabins, and she made it sound really, really fun, but I couldn't keep up. There was no way, especially last year with the way my summer went with trying to get ready for the shop. So I just opted to not even pay attention. I just zone it out. It's off in the background, not even paying attention. But this year I was watching Crazy Sock Lady, her podcast on YouTube, and she has simplified the rules down to something manageable for me. So thank you, Kay. I'm sure you did that just for me, right? But no, I am so excited that this year she said she's just going to keep it simple. She's going to keep it basic. She's not worried about if you have works in progress. She's not worried about which style of sock you're making. Just let's make socks together. And I'm like, well, great. I already do that anyway. So I'm excited. I'll be participating in Summer Sock Camp 2023. And if you see me posting online, you will definitely see me putting that hashtag, because I'm so happy that she made sure to just simplify that just a little bit, just for the fun of sharing that we all are making socks together. Nothing other than that. So thank you, Kay, for making it simpler. I'm super excited. Maybe I'll have to send some Sweet Mountain Crafts yarn her way so that she can have some more prize goodies to share with people if she draws names for prizes. But yes, I will get to participate, and I'm excited to play along with everyone, like I say, since I'll be knitting socks anyway. So my sock class, just to finish that up, my sock class will be meeting again, not this Thursday, but the following Thursday. And hopefully at the end of class, everyone will feel like they have successfully made themselves a pair of socks. So it's very fun. I love teaching. I love being able to share something that I enjoy so much with others who are excited about it as well. Last work in progress that I want to share today is just barely getting started, but it's one that should go really, really quickly, and one that I'm so excited about. I will show the bag that it's in here in just a minute, but first I want to show the project and the yarn. So like I said, I've just barely gotten started. I've just cast on. Can you tell what it might be? I suppose that could be a cowl, a sweater, or a hat. Well, it's a hat. So I am knitting from the Knitting the National Parks book by Nancy Bates. I am knitting her Yellowstone beanie. So, as is appropriate for me, since I live at the east entrance of Yellowstone. Here is that beanie. And it is inspired by Grand Prismatic, which is the largest, or the most well-known geyser in Yellowstone. It is really that beautiful. It is a gorgeous geyser. Now, when people are looking at it, you are down on a little path that goes a little walkway. So when you're looking at Grand Prismatic, you're looking across it, not so much over it. And a lot of the images show it from the top. So when you're looking at it, it's actually from a little bit different angle, but the colors are spectacular. And the fact that those colors are all natural is amazing to me. So just due to the different bacteria that are in the hot springs and the minerals that are there, it creates this gorgeous color. Well, I decided, while I like her pattern a lot, I didn't love her colors. Okay, there's her colors. So what I was saying is that the colors that I see there make me think of an ice cream sundae. And I think a lot of the reason that it kind of throws me off is this, it looks red in the picture. Now, maybe it's not truly that red, maybe it's more orange, but in the photo, it looks a little red. And so I decided that I was going to dye up yarn of my own to put together some kits in order to have in my shop some Wyoming inspired Yellowstone Grand Prismatic Yellowstone beanie kits. So these are the colors that I have dyed. So first of all, you saw this color. This is my surrounding color. This is for the around the edges. So this has speckles of blue, or not blue, sorry, green, purples, yellows, browns. It's got lots of different colors speckled on there just for the surrounding landscape. Then it goes into the rusty iron colors. That would be from iron in the area. Then we go to this bright yellow. I should, since I live here, know what the reason is for all these colors, and maybe I'll do a little bit of research on that, on what causes all the colors that we see. But it goes into a really bright yellow. Then it goes into, and this one is not cooperating very well. This ball decided to cake up funny, but this is the green, which green is more of a visual thing. It's less of an actual thing. What happens is that the yellow crosses over with the blues and creates kind of this visual of a green line. But there's the green, and then it'll go to the deep blues and aqua colors of the pool, of the main pool. So these are my colors that are dyed up for the Yellowstone beanie. So I'm super excited to work on that. I'm working on the shop sample right now for a couple reasons. First of all, I wanted to make sure that I get accurate measurements of each yarn so that when I'm kitting this up, I'm putting the proper amounts of yardage in each kit to make sure that people can make this hat comfortably and yet not have a lot of extra. And then also for my shop sample and just for the fun of making it myself. So this is a big project for me because, like I said, it has multiple aspects. I'm dyeing the yarn, weighing it, making sure to plan it out so that I can make it an item that will sell. This will be available at Wyoming Yarn and Fiber and on wyomingyarn.com. It won't be available through Sweet Mountain Crafts since I am dyeing it with the mindset that this is a Wyoming inspired kit. So when it does come available though, I will be sure to include a link in my show notes of a future podcast to be able to share that with you all. So yes, exciting, fun stuff. Let's move on to shop news. All right, I have been very busy, as I keep saying. I think I say that multiple times a day. I need to stop saying that because that's just life, right? Anyway, I have been working on getting some yarns dyed for a couple reasons. First of all, it is the beginning of tourist season here in Cody, Wyoming, so we see a lot of people traveling this way in order to go into Yellowstone Park. What that means is that I get to see people from all over the country, all over the world. It's a very unique environment living here in Cody and having a yarn store here. A lot of my customers from other places are into the shop looking for souvenir type yarns. So they want to find something that is local, either locally dyed or locally raised and locally milled or processed. So I work really hard to make sure that I carry Wyoming specific products. I've done that through carrying my own hand dyed yarns, of course, and I have my dye studio at the shop. So I incorporate a lot of my hand-dyed yarns. But I also carry some other indie dyers from around Wyoming. I carry some alpaca from an alpaca farm that is just 20 miles from me. I carry yarns that are milled in Buffalo, Wyoming, which is just a few hours away. I try to really focus on a lot of Wyoming made products. I also carry other Wyoming specific artisans, I guess you might say. So bag makers, card makers. I have a gal that makes fabric bowls for me. So all of that stuff can be found on wyomingyarn.com. But because I get to dye for Wyoming Yarn and Fiber, I also have the fun of being able to share that on sweetmountaincrafts.com too. So you'll see some crossover at times, and I have been busy trying to make sure that I've got some new stuff going into sweetmountaincrafts.com. Not only Wyoming inspired, but just some fun stuff that I've wanted to do. So first of all, I am going to start with a Wyoming inspired set that is not in the shop yet, but will be soon. This is also inspired, and the reason I'm talking about it first is because it's also inspired by the Grand Prismatic. But this is a Wyoming set, this will be named Wyoming Summer. And you can see all these great colors are inspired indeed. Actually, these would go this way. Let me get them in the right order. These would be inspired by the Grand Prismatic, but you can see these are a much lighter, much softer color palette than the colors that I'm doing for the hat. The main reason is that this is a wool and bamboo blend. This yarn is milled in Buffalo at Mountain Meadow Wool Mill, or Mountain Meadow Mill. And it is a beautiful very light fingering weight that just has it's got a beautiful sheen to it because of that bamboo. But because the bamboo is a cellulose fiber and dyes up differently than the wool, it doesn't take the dye as deeply or as richly, so it makes just this really soft, beautiful palette. So I'm excited to get these in the shop. Hopefully sometime this week. I'd like to think that I'll have them on Sweet Mountain Crafts by later this week, and then kit it up for even in the store. Oh, here, let me turn that orange one around. So you can see, let me show you this just to show you the difference. You can see on my tie there that the tie was made using wool, like it was leftovers of a superwash wool that we used to create that tie. And because of that, it's you can see how much that color, how much deeper or richer that color is on the superwash wool versus the bamboo. So see how dark and deep that is? Look at the yellow or that golden color. Or even the aqua. It's definitely more teal, but on the skein, it's aqua, right? So that's the difference, that the superwash, like a merino, just a merino yarn versus a wool and bamboo blend. That's the difference it makes. So when I'm dyeing these up, they come out with a much softer pastel color palette. Now, big news. I'm so excited. Like I said, tomorrow is my birthday. I'm turning 44, so it's always fun this time of year to celebrate my birthday with a special sale for all of you guys. I am so excited to present this bag from Susan of Delightful Works. She made these great drawstring bags again for me in a collaboration again to come up with a fun summery themed set. So she sent these to me. It's been a couple months ago now that she sent these to me, and they've been in the works and planned for some time. And I was able to get the yarns dyed for these, and I figured what a perfect birthday release. So I am so excited to have these sets ready to go. So let me show you the yarn that I dyed to go with it. Here is my summer picnic set. And you can see all of these colors are in the bag, in the fabric of the bag. And they go so well together that I love doing it this way, where Susan has a fabulous bag that she puts together, and then I'm able to dye the yarn to match, because it's just fun to have yarn that matches a project bag. And when they come together already ready to go, it just makes it super exciting. So this yarn is my slope sock base. It is a 20% nylon, 80% superwash merino, 2-ply yarn. These would be amazing summer socks. If you are someone that enjoys doing scrappy socks, stripy socks, these would go together so well in a summer sock set. But if you're not into socks, I would think these would be gorgeous together in a summertime shawl, or even a cowl. Just so many fun different ways to put these yarns together. So a summer tee would fit in this, a tank, any smaller project, maybe a sweater, but depending on which size of sweater and certainly how thick your yarn is, would affect that. But it's really fun on the inside, and I do have a pattern in there hanging out because I've been using the bag already, but on the inside there's ants. Little black ants, like they're surprise visitors at your summer picnic. I love it. So this set is now available in my shop, and the great thing is I am offering a flash sale of 25% off anything in my store from now, and if you get a chance to watch this video, that is May 29th through tomorrow night, May 30th at midnight. So if you watch this video really soon, you'll find out about that. If not, hopefully you're on Instagram and you'll see that news there as well. but I have a number of new yarns that I've added to the shop. I have these great kits that are available in the shop, and I have a few other things that might be of interest, so be sure to check it out and get a deal on some Sweet Mountain Crafts items. I think I'm going to end this now today. I've had fun sharing with you all the different projects and getting caught up. I hope you're doing well where you're at, and hope that you find something here. If you stuck with me to this point, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for catching up with me, and I hope to be back again before too long. Have a great end of May and start of June, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye. Okay, it opened up so easy the first time. Why can't I get there now this time? Going the wrong way, I think. Let's try again. Wow. There we go.